I have been churning out a ton of social cutdowns from a big interview I wrapped last week, so I thought I would take you through my exact process. I am going to show you how I handle the standard Premiere Pro workflow, and then the secret weapon I use to slash that time in half using Vizard. Think of this as a behind-the-scenes look over my shoulder while I turn a single long-form timeline into ready-to-post vertical and square content. With the timeline open, the very first thing I do is start the process of trimming the fat. I chop the long interview into little 20 or 30-second bites, which are usually the key moments that actually hook a viewer while they scroll. I delete the bits that aren't really adding value, but I never throw away the original footage. I always duplicate the sequence a few times, so I have a safe master file to reference later. That gives me the original file, a couple of test cutdowns, and a few different experimental versions to play with. Next up is color correction, because I want my subject's face to be the absolute star of the show. When you are working in Premiere, you usually copy attributes and paste them across your clips to save time. But you have to be careful, because if you paste everything, you might accidentally double effect something like a sound treatment or a warp effect. So I make sure I only copy the color attributes and manually uncheck the rest, which is a small nuisance that really adds up over time. Then there is the masking process, where I trace around the presenter to keep the viewer's focus right on their face. I like to feather the edge so it blends perfectly, because you want that soft fall-off that does not scream edited to the audience. In Premiere, this is straightforward but definitely fiddly, especially when you duplicate clips and have to recheck the exposure and masks every single time. This leads us to the biggest hurdle: aspect ratio conversions for different social platforms. I always cut my content in 16:9 first as my base, and then I make separate copies for vertical or square. Premiere's Auto Reframe tool used to be a massive lifesaver for this specific task. You pick your aspect ratio, and the software tries to resize and track your subject for you. But here is the honest reality: Auto Reframe is good, but it is certainly not perfect. It does a solid job on simple talking head footage, but it often misses critical context, like props or side actions. Plus, it can sometimes mess with your existing motion adjustments or strip your transitions if you aren't careful with nesting. You end up spending 20 minutes per sequence nudging the reframe offset or manually redoing the zooming. If you have 50 clips to process, that is an entire afternoon of work gone in a flash. And things like color or masks do not always transfer gracefully between reframes either. You might have to reapply or tweak your entire color grade in the new nested sequence, which is just tedious. Export settings are another classic gotcha, where you have to match the source perfectly or your encoders will freak out. So while Premiere is undeniably powerful, it requires a fair bit of intense micromanagement. That is exactly why I have been leaning on Vizard lately to do the heavy lifting for me. I start by doing the creative cutdown in Premiere to get the pacing right, and then I export a high-quality master file. Then I upload that master to Vizard and let their auto-editing engine take over. It analyzes the entire clip to find the most engaging moments and suggests various aspect ratios automatically. What I love is that Vizard isn't just mindlessly cropping the frame. It looks for the hook moments, the punchlines, and the emotional beats that make people actually stop scrolling. Instead of spending 20 minutes per clip on manual reframes, I get 20 candidate clips in a matter of seconds. Is it perfect every single time? No, sometimes it centers the wrong thing, but that is totally okay. I can easily go in and nudge the crop or swap a caption if I need to, but the tedious, repetitive part of the job is already done. Another huge pain point for creators is the scheduling and publishing grind. In Premiere, you export, upload to each platform, set schedules, write copy, and add thumbnails manually. This is where Vizard's auto schedule and content calendar really pay back my investment. Once my clips are polished, I can set my preferred posting times and queue them up across all my socials at once. The content calendar gives me a bird's eye view of what is going live, when, and where. When I compare this to other tools, they are often clunky, overpriced, or just focused on one single feature. Vizard sits in the sweet spot of smart clip selection combined with a clean, functional calendar. For small teams and solo creators, that is a massive time saver that keeps you sane. Back to the nitty-gritty. When you get your Vizard clips, you should still do a quick eyeball check. I check if the subject is centered and ensure my captions line up with the speaker's mouth perfectly. Most of the time, the Vizard output is ready to publish, but I can always bring the best reels back into Premiere for custom animations. One subtle thing I prefer is that while Premiere's auto tools focus on center tracking, Vizard's approach finds viral-friendly moments. That means I end up with clips that have stronger hooks that keep people from scrolling past my content. The export process is also safer because the service usually handles the correct sizing and file limits for each platform automatically. So to recap the workflow, I do the creative heavy lifting, the retiming and color grading in my main editor. Then I let Vizard analyze the footage, generate the variants, and schedule them on an optimized cadence. That combo frees me up to focus on my high-level content strategy instead of getting stuck in the weeds. If you want to try this, my first tip is to keep your original edit clean. Good audio and stable framing go a long way. My second tip is to use these tools to accelerate your decisions, not to replace your human judgment. Third, use that content calendar to stagger your posts so your feed stays fresh and not repetitive. At the end of the day, Premiere is powerful, but Vizard is the closest thing I have found to a trustworthy assistant. It turns long videos into a month of social posts without me burning out in the process. So give that combo a try, and you will save hours of your time while making your feed look more alive. I am heading back to editing. I have got 3 timelines to reframe and a whole content calendar to fill.